35 feet from the system. And this is an area where this has happened before, and we've used that precedent for an opportunity to provide a solution. Mr. Calkins, who was at the time of the prior incident, was the health sanitarian for the town of East Lyme, and the attorney for the town of East Lyme was Mr. Marion, and I believe both the Mr. Marion's opinion and Mr. Calkins' letter is in there. And basically what they're proposing is, instead of having the dry well in and on the property, it would be in the portion of the right-of-way in front of the subject property to install a new leaching field. And as this is a public road, but it is not, it has never been deeded to the town has no real ownerships or right to approve or disapprove of this. We would only, as the resolution say, offer no objection to the installation of this septic facility. Now, I asked this be put on the agenda this evening so that the homeowner can then go ahead and work with Ledge Lake to get this fixed well before our meeting in August, so that we can move this forward now. So we're kind of a little bit putting the cart before the horse, but what we're saying is, should this solution come forward, the Board of Selectmen has no objection, and we're supported by past precedent and an attorney ruling that you have there, and there's even a short diagram. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have here, and I would entertain a resolution.
Resolved that the Board of Selectmen has no objection to the installation of septic facilities under the portion of Hill Road adjacent to the premises known generally as 18 Hill Road, on the condition that the town engineer be satisfied that the septic system be constructed and installed in a manner that will not create a hazard for the traveling public, and that the property owners obtain all necessary permits for such work.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilson. I will add, for the purposes of discussion, if you like, that the town engineer, actually Bill Shear, the Public Works Director and former town engineer, has looked at this and has no objection for this, and the permit will call for support on the top of this drywall sufficient to hold the vehicle, so it wouldn't be a regular tank. So.
And did you say at the beginning of this that Hill Road was not a town road?
Well, it's not. I don't know that it's not a town road. It's never been so deeded. I believe that's the correct. And so the property owners own to the 50% of the road. It is a right-of-way that must be maintained by the town. That's what I understood. Is my
It's much
properly?
it's much like Lakeview Circle. That's dirt and gets garbage pickup and things like that, but it's really not a town road.
According to Mr. Marion, he says the town has never gotten a deed to the road, so the ownership of the fee in the road is in the abutting property owners to the center of the road.
That's correct, and the town has a common law right-of-way across the road, and I imagine that's why we plow it and take care of it, to protect that deeded right-of-way that we have and the public has across that road.
That answer your question, Ms. Ivey?
Yes, I'm just wondering if there should be a clause in here that the road shall remain passable, or the road shall, the right-of-way shall be maintained or returned to its original.
We had, I had Mr. O'Connell write this, so he felt, or Tracy, I'm not sure.
He and I did discuss it, and it was his feeling that to put in there that will not create a hazard for the traveling public would include that it has to be built so that it's strong enough to include cars and not be obstructing the public way. As long as it's underground, it would not do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Further comments? Hearing none, we have a resolution and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. Next item, you see communication. We have some bamboo stuff. Ex officio. Are there ex officio reports?
I'm just wondering if there's any interest on this business under communications under the bamboo, if there's any interest in moving that up for a discussion this evening, or should we plan to put that on the next meeting's agenda?
Yeah, I have to read that whole thing. I mean, it's like 20 pages here.
We can put it on the next agenda if you like,
Yeah.
and carry it as a line item. We'll
Thank you.
We don't think that the Samuel Smith folks will be ready for the next agenda, so I don't think we need to carry that to August. I think they have some time, so we'll have that, right?
All right.
How's that? Okay.
The phosphor ordinance was written by Shipman and Goodwin out of Hartford.
Okay, thank you. We have a copy of that.
Everybody has a
All right,
copy.
so we put that on under new business for the next agenda?
We would, yes.
And then anyone who wishes to come and comment may do so.
Ex officio reports? Anyone like to start?
I have none.
I went to, I have a couple real quick ones. I went to the Board of Ed on Monday night. They extended their contract with Chartwells for another year. Concern is there's been a significant deficit, about over $40,000 in the hole from last year. And I believe according to the contract, they pick up the first $40,000 in losses, and then we pick up anything after that. So we had to pick up a little bit this year. They're gonna come to the board in the fall to talk about ideas how to deal with that. One of the reasons they possibly said that there's been a drop-off is because now that they're forced to offer nothing but healthy meals, people are going elsewhere. So, but they're looking at trying to introduce breakfast and so forth back in to try and help make up the deficit, and that they'll be going, actually, this is the last year of the contract. They'll actually have a full bid process coming up in the spring. And another item, they discussed the school program about, the elementary school process, and the board took a vote to empower the superintendent to enter into contracts, or into a contract with a firm to develop some initial firm options on what the plans would look like, similar to what we did with the what was done with the field, where they had some minor expenditure at the beginning just to come up with a plan with some ideas for a cost and so forth like that. Dr. Lombardo estimated probably $35,000 to $60,000 for this, and the only thing, they did not identify the source of funding for it at this point. And then last night, that was the Board of Ed, and then last night, Harbor Management has one pier that is coming up near the Golden Spur area, so that's going to be looked at because there's some concern it may infringe onto town right-of-ways and so forth, so they'll be looking at that. That's my ex officio.
Thank you. Sorry?
Just very briefly, from the Wetlands Commission, the Agricultural Subcommittee, on the 21st, that would be Sunday, they'll be sponsoring another open farm day. And there will be 3 farms on the tour list that families can go and visit, all in East Lyme. This will all be in the Flanders section of town,
What is that date?
Sunday, 21st.
Oh, it's always after celebration.
Yep.
Yeah. And their hope is that on a rotating basis, each year they would highlight different farms. And so next year they would try to do some of the smaller farms in the Niantic section. That's it.
That's it?
Great.
Mr. Wilson, did you say?
All set.
I attended the zoning meeting last week. There were 3 public hearings relating to amending the regulations regarding parking. It would allow that when looking at required parking spaces, spaces in front of the particular establishment to be included in the total number of spaces. They could not be labeled as dedicated to that merchant, but they could be included when the total computation of parking spaces was taken into account. Also, it was necessary to amend the zoning regulations, flood hazard areas, to maintain compliance with the minimum standards of the National Flood Insurance Program, and a public hearing as well on amending the zoning regulations regarding the keeping of poultry. And at the regular meeting, the commission did vote to amend the parking regulations to bring our flood hazard areas into compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, which was necessary, or residents would no longer be eligible for that program. The poultry regulations were likewise amended, and then there was a CAM review which was granted, and that was the meeting.
Mr. Nickerson?
No report.
I was able to attend since the last meeting, the high school graduation, which is always a nice event to see our wonderful school district turn out another group of great folks. And this week we attended, I attended with Mayor Finizio and First Selectman Stewart the report from our project managers on the potential of combining the dispatch between the three towns, and that was a feasibility study that they moved forward. It was determined that the study determined that it would be feasible and it would enhance both public safety and efficiencies, and so the committee was charged to move to develop an implementation scenario. Also, I have been working with other members of the town of East Lyme to determine the potential of a Montville East Lyme dispatch, and then perhaps gaining, as a third scenario, more towns through our own dispatch. So we have three scenarios that I hope to bring to the Board of Selectmen for their consideration in the next month or so.
Is Old Lyme off the table?
No. Although they're not as supportive. So nothing is yet off the table, but that would be the least likely.
Thank you.
They just formed a new COG with the folks on the other side of the river, and they have a lot of ties there. They're also with Valley Shores, which is the dispatch, regional dispatch on that side. Most of the potential that we see would be from KX or a number of those towns in KX potentially coming down to us, and some shifting to Montville, some shifting in other ways. So, but all of that will be laid out in detail for a choice, and I believe that's important for us to have a choice. Also, the four-town potential animal control office consolidation with Montville, New London, Waterford, and East Lyme. We met and we're hashing out the potential building need as a result of the population on a daily basis for those animals that are required in each of those towns. We had the state animal control officer down and brief us on some of the issues there. That is going forward, but much slower. The committee that has been working to raise funds to renovate the Waterford East Lyme animal control facility has raised over $120,000 in donations, and so that we hope would be able to be applied toward the number of scenarios that are being discussed. The regional interconnection groundbreaking occurred last week with our partner in London, and the construction is getting underway. They should actually be breaking ground in the next week or so. I attended a couple of meetings at York regarding the fuel leak on the prison. As you know, York is located on our level A aquifer and has been mapped, and they discovered a small fuel leak, or a fuel leak, we don't know the size of it, from a pipe that ran from a tank that served one of the auxiliary generators for the facility. They have hired quickly an excavating professional excavating contractor who specializes in these types of things. They've dug a number of monitoring wells on the property and are daily monitoring that. And we have put, they have put a number of sentinel wells in front of and in between the spill and our well supply 3A and 3B, which is on the prison property and supplies about half of the town's water supply. And so they're monitoring that. And so far, nothing is shown up in any of those monitoring wells near our well. So our water supply is safe, but the DOC, Department of Corrections, is in charge of all this. This is their baby to deal with, and we were having a meeting next week of all the state agencies to determine some what-if scenarios, and also to better be better informed on where we are. But so far, the water supply is safe, the well is being used, and we only ask that mandatory conservation go into effect for the weekends so that we can just reduce the demand on our wells so that we pump less in an effort to do it. And it's ironic in a year when we have enough water flow that we would not normally be instituting this, that we would be doing it as a result of this. So I will bring you more up to date as time goes on that. I attended a meeting with the Assistant DEP Commissioner regarding a emergency access through the Rocky Neck State Park for those folks who live in the Giants Neck Heights and Giants Neck area, so that in the event if that road, Giants Neck Road, was blocked, there would be an access way that we would be able to open up and use the park to get out. We are responsible as a town to come up with a few scenarios and then move that forward, and we hope to have that solution shortly. I attended a reception for library volunteers, and it was amazing to me the amount of people who volunteer for the library, and our new director, Lisa Timothy, is doing a wonderful job up there. We had a couple of Council of Governments meeting, and the big topic, the two big topics that we talked about there were the merger of the Councils of Governments. The state is requiring a reduction, and therefore all of the COGs around the state are talking to towns who happen to be contiguous to their particular COGs about whether they would join one and leave the other, or whatever, and see what happens. So there'll be some changes, although the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments is one of the larger COGs, and also one of the more financially stable COGs, so it seems like we are going to remain intact, but you don't know that. There's a report that's due by January of 14 and implementation by January of 15 with regard to state statute. The other item is SEAT. As you know, the Department of Transportation has moved to take over SEAT, and with that, the responsibility of the fuel leak that was on that property, thereby absolving all of the SEAT member towns any responsibility for the financial or for the operational cleanup of that property, which there was some conflicting legal opinions on whether or not we would be, but this takes that off the table. One of the things that we'll be asking for in the near future would be to appoint different representatives to the advisory board and change the advisory board for SEAT to be the Council of Governments. And the reason for that is not only do we want to help maintain the validity and stability of SEAT as an operational entity, but the COG is interested in enhancing regional transportation efforts and reaching out into areas that are not served by regional transportation now. So it was felt that the CEOs of each community would be better able to participate in that discussion. So as we move to the next meeting, we'll be asking for a change in the SEAT transition period, and I will be providing you documentation to that effect prior to the meeting so that you can study what's going on. I attended a Board of Finance meeting, and let's see, that was a standard meeting that did all the stuff we did. We had a note sale, is that yesterday or today, Darlene? Yesterday. On some of the, for some short-term money that we were able to bond out, and we were successfully bid, and we got a rate of 0.21%, less than 0.25%, on $5 million for the next year. And what we'll do is we accumulate short-term funding, and then once we get a larger number, then we put it out to long-term bonding every other year. So next year we'll put together a larger packet of dollars, but we've been very good. So I attended the Mike Genitazio first annual Living Waters Golf Tournament with Mr. Nickerson on Monday, and we played, and had he played better by one stroke, we would have probably won that tournament, but nothing we can do about the quality of his play there. So,
But you missed the
but
putt.
the good news is we did raise a lot of money for new recliners for Lawrence Memorial Hospital, and for new water well programs to serve the people in Haiti, which was an item that Mike had used, not only his passion for service, but his expertise as an engineer to develop wells for the people in Haiti. I did attend a JLUS meeting, which is a land use study meeting in and around military installations. That's a 3-town event with Old Lyme and Lyme, and that should be a subject of discussion at one of our next meetings. So I just want to bring that to you. And then finally, Celebrate East Lyme will be on Saturday. Today, if you're watching this on tape, is what's the date? The 17th. So this is Saturday, the 20th. We are looking very carefully at the weather. I don't believe we have any rain dates for this event, so we're just going to have to ask that it doesn't rain until we move it forward. But
Seems
we
reasonable.
may, if anything, if it does get bad enough, we may see if we can move the fireworks to another night, should that be necessary, so that we can see them and have a fireworks show
I
that
do
is
want
not
to-
impeded by fog. So
Uh,
I think that's it for me. So any comments or any public comment? Anybody like to speak to the board under public comment? There being no selectman response to no public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Thank you
Have a
for
good
coming.
evening.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you to our able assistant keeping us live and in front of you. Good night, everybody.
All right.